Hi, it's Michelle. Today I want to talk about some of our family relationships. And I actually will be talking about that, and I have some people that I want to interview as well. Just because the family dynamic is really important. And an illness like Chiari and the comorbid conditions, including Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, um, they're hard because they really do affect so many different things. But that makes it even harder on us that are going through it. And because our doctors don't understand it and our doctors like to deny it, sometimes it can be hard getting our family to understand and support us through it. But it's so critical. Um, with Chiari, there is a blockage of fluid, of cerebrospinal fluid, from getting into the spinal canal. And, that cerebrospinal fluid is really important. It actually cleanses the spinal cord and, and everything that it's exposed to as it goes down. It washes it brings nutrients to it. And so when that doesn't happen, we can end up having a whole lot of problems. And I'm not just talking a syrinx, which, is basically one is a development from a blockage of fluid. But but your cord's just not getting the nutrients that it needs, and it's not being cleansed the way it was created to. It's not just something that is easy to go without. And the problem is that a lot of us have had that blockage of fluid, at least partial blockage, for years and decades before it was even noticed. So it was already damaging and breaking down our spinal cords to a certain degree. Um, it's been failing to provide the nutrients that our spinal cord needs. And when we end up having a lot of problems, even without a syrinx, we tend to have disc issues too, lots of disc issues. If you ever looked at, you could literally take our necks and look at our necks alone and the disc issues alone of our cervical spines. And it is not like anything you're ever going to see in another group of people, as it is with people with EDS and Chiari related comorbids. Um, our discs, our cervical spines are just completely all over the place. And that's painful and it's dangerous and it's degrading not being able to hold your head up. It's degrading to have to be careful of looking down or looking up because you'll faint or you'll get so dizzy that you have to sit down. It's not an issue of weight. It's not an issue of not being healthy enough. Well, it sort of is, but it's not something that's completely in our control. Um, and we do have to learn how to control what we can and get help with what we can't. But at the same time, if we are being disrespected by our families, it makes it that much harder to do, right? If you have nobody that believes in you, then that makes it harder to do. Um, I know people who go through surgery after surgery and none of their family supports them. I know that I've had 8 surgeries, and and I did get mad at my siblings at one point that they hadn't come to the hospital one time or ever sent flowers. And the truth is that so I went off. I'm not gonna lie, but there's a dynamic that I miss that came to light in it all. I'm the eldest sister, and there were they I was strong. I was I was their strong sister, and they were seeing me fall apart, and that scared them because they loved me, and I'm sure they were wondering what they were going to do without me. And then the fear factor, I'm like, this is genetic, you guys. we have to be careful, and we have to be careful with our kids. And we have to look for signs. We have to help them have the fullest life that they can possibly have, because it's genetic. Because not the Chiari, right? Chiari, I believe that there's a reason they haven't found a genetic gene for Chiari, and that's because they're not willing to look at Ehlers-Danlos. Because Ehlers-Danlos absolutely explains the genetic factor with Chiari, the tendency for organ prolapse, the reason we have hernias, the reason we have people in our families with aneurysms, the reasons we have so many disc issues. So it's there, but when you address that with family that's already afraid of losing you, then you're telling them that that their kids might lose them, right? Or they might lose their kids. So there is like fear just like coming around in every direction. And I really had to take a step back and look at how what my family was going through with this information, right? Because to me, I'm already there. I'm already going through it, right? There's no going back. There's no changing it. I'm bad off, but I'm bad off because one of the main reasons I'm bad off is because for 10 years they told me nothing was wrong. For 10 years, I didn't have flow to my spinal fluid or to my spinal canal. And they told me everything was fine, that the MRI showed nothing. And that wasn't true. When I met with my neurosurgeon the first time, he said he looked back to the first MRI on record 10 years earlier, and it was evident there. They just don't know what to look for, right? And I've gone to the ER and had the doctor ask me how to spell it and then come back and say, well, just so you know, headaches are not a symptom of Chiari. And I'm like, go read the other half of the wiki that you just looked it up on, because that's not even close to accurate. In fact, that's going to be like the number one, number two symptom. Probably number one. It's going to be right there with neck aches. But we absolutely need our families. Don't get me wrong. We will find a way to survive without you if we need to. And we have learned to become family to each other, especially amongst those who don't have family or don't have family support. But let me tell you, if it was cancer or something where it was terminal and there was an end, a near end that was in sight, people tend to support that because they know that this is their last chance. But what about when I could literally grow old and continue to wither and continue, my pain will continue to increase, and it may or may not kill me. I'm not saying Chiari isn't fatal, because it is, or it can be, I should say. And usually it's comorbids and complications arising from undiagnosed comorbids that lead to those deaths. But here's the thing is, it's scary going through this, right? And don't ever underplay the value that you have as part of this family. And don't underplay the message that you are sending to the rest of the generations that are going to come after us. Because essentially, if they see you mock me, or if they see you make light of it or make fun of it, they're not going to be forthcoming with symptoms, because they're going to be afraid that you're going to do that to them too. We need to get this right. We need to get family dynamics in order. We need palliative care, really, from the very beginning. When you have something wrong with your central nervous system, everything neurological that could go wrong. And you need to be able to address it from like a neurocardiological aspect. You need to be looking at your endocrine system. You need to be looking at oh my gosh, every aspect. Pains in your legs. You never say, oh, my head is causing my heart issues, right? You don't go into this thinking about that, right? Your ears and your head, right? There actually is a field called neurotology that is specifically for that. And so there, your brain dictates everything. So when everything starts to go wrong, that is so scary. That is so scary. And nobody should have to go through that alone, ever. And I'm going to turn this around because I want to be fair. When you're going through that as a Kiarian, as someone with all this pain and all this scary stuff happening to them, the absolute worst response that you're going to be able to give your family is to take it out on them. Right? And I've been there, I've done that. And the truth is if you've ever dealt with like senior citizens or somebody that's had traumatic brain injury, which we actually do classify, especially after surgery, or at least an acquired brain injury, they go through certain periods of anger. I know that I did not, for a while, I did not have a handle on that at all. Like, I didn't even realize that I was getting mad irrationally at the people that I love the most, and they love me through that. And I can't imagine going through life now without that. But I had to realize that I was doing that. And I had to realize that they were not going to become victims of Chiari through me. Right? Like, I wasn't going to torment them because I was hurting. And that had to be a cognitive choice that I made. So we need to learn to express our pain and our frustrations and our fears in healthy ways. And we need our families to be able to help us through those. And also to have a safe place for them to address their fears as well. So keep those family dynamics going. I have a couple things in the near future, people that I want to interview that I think will be able to specifically shed some light on how we can make family dynamics better. Because the truth is, we have so many things going against us. We really need things for us. And for it to start with our family, phenomenal difference, I'll tell you. I couldn't live without any of them. So thank you for listening. Have a great day.